Well, hello, and welcome to lesson 250 here in the workbook for students. Oh, yeah. Let me not see myself as limited. That's the idea for today. Let me not see myself as limited. So, we're talking about limitlessness, the Christ, us, all of us, who we are, which is beyond any kind of limits, anything whatsoever. We're not bound by the physical body, which, as we know from all of these past lessons, including 20 in a row, where the idea was, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still, as God created me. We know that we're not bound by the physical body. We're not bound by the nation that we were born in. We're not bound by gender. We're not bound by anything at all. That's truth. So we are, in truth, limitless. And I hope along the path that you are allowing that to show up in your life, that you're leaning into it, so to speak. Yeah, I hope that you're taking advantage of every opportunity that you can to do just that. This is a very uplifting, loving, joyous, and beautiful experience. Who doesn't want that, right? We all want it, even though we may run around pretending that we don't. We just kind of want to suffer a little over here for a minute, and we want to read this nasty political post and suffer and condemn these people for a little while. We want to keep this form of suffering and that, but we realize along the way, and A Course in Miracles teaches us that we actually cannot do that and expect to experience who we really are. We can't keep some special forms of guilt and fear and hatred just to ourselves, reserved off in our little corner for when we're talking about geopolitics or something like that. I always use that as an example. I mean, talk about an ego playground, right? So, yeah, it's all or nothing, and we are limitless. We need to make the choice to experience that and allow that to happen in our lives. Now, lesson 250 is about our own limitlessness. It's about how we experience that. So, because there is no separation of any kind, and we are one with every living thing, when we see ourselves as limitless, that means that we see our brother, as the Course puts it, our brothers and sisters, other people, right? Every living thing as equally limitless. In other words, as the prayer, the italicized prayer in today's idea says, how we see our brothers, how we see ourselves. And if we perceive limits in other people, like a low IQ, right? Willful blindness, following ridiculous people to their own detriment, judgmentalism, all of that fun stuff, right? When we see that in other people, we see that in ourselves. On the other hand, when we see other people as the Christ, yeah, when we see them as loving, joyous, generous, yeah, full of spontaneous laughter, happiness, we see ourselves. How we see our brothers, how we see ourselves, how we see our sisters, how we see ourselves, how we see every living thing. It's how we see ourselves. There's no one out there, so to speak. It's kind of funny for me because every day, talking about a lesson here in the workbook for students, I recognize that I'm repeating some of the same phraseology, the same ideas again and again. And it's funny because as adult learners, we truly need that, don't we? Because it might be the 250th day that you hear the same thing, that it actually sinks in, right? That it actually occurs to you how beautiful and profound and true and joyous and simple this is to practice, to put into practice right now in your own life, which discovers not your own, so to speak, it's life in general, which is shared. When we see our brothers and sisters as limitless, we see ourselves as limitless. It's how we see them, hence, and enter the all-important idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness as the Course in Miracles posits it, not the limited way in which the world sees it, which is usually conditional, isn't it? There's some strings attached, there's guilt attached, there's a superiority complex, someone deigns to overlook someone's transgression against them, right? Yeah, no, the way the Course presents it for our study, for our practice, for our acceptance, and for our complete integration into our daily life. That's where it's at, isn't it? Practice, that's where the action lies. So I invite you to contemplate this idea, and I invite you to the extent that you remember to do this today, to the extent that you feel able to do it today, to forgive. The past couple of lessons here on this channel, for lessons 248 and 249, talk a little bit about forgiveness. In lesson 248, I mentioned an example, a real world example of forgiving my own systemically abusive alcoholic mother, while at the same time retaining very healthy and crystal clear boundaries in this lifetime. That's the video for lesson 248. And in lesson 249, I talk a little bit about the attitude of forgiveness, an attitude of forgiveness. So there's no prescriptive formula for the verbiage for how you do it, yet there are a couple of different attitudes that you could take and components that are really critical to have your forgiveness work, your forgiveness practice really truly be effective. And that's from lesson 249, the most recent past video here in this series. I invite you to check those out. And as always, if you have questions or comments, feel welcome to leave them here. And I thank you so much for tuning in. There are 2 different YouTube channels, as you may know, where this material is present. It's on my personal channel, Tomas Garza, and then Enlightened World Network has this show, which began as a live stream. Incidentally, some of the earlier videos are Facebook Live, and I have this handy little device tracking live comments and things like that. And we switched to this pre-recorded format a few months ago. I like it. I like it because it enables me to be more present in showing up for you, which is why I'm here. All right, guys, happy practicing. We'll see you on the next video.